Hi, my name is Hitesh and you are watching MsfCLI Extreme on Kali Linux. Below is my homepage where you can access much more detail about me or simply can drop me an email at hitesh@hiteshchaudhary.com. I would be really happy to have your feedback on my email. So before I get more into the presentation and you say, hey Hitesh, are you going to complete this entire series on the presentation or you're going to show us something else? So before moving anything else, let me open up my Kali Linux. So what I have done in this practice scenario, this is going to be a very fundamental video in which we are going to talk about the fundamentals and the various ways how we can access the Metasploit. So what I have done in the practice scenario, I have got my Metasploitable 2 running on my virtual machine and another I have got a Kali Linux. So I've typed a simple command here that is ifconfig that is being used to know the IP address. So here it says, let me zoom it a bit. So here it says the ifconfig command, and on that we have got an IP that is 192.168.52.160. So let me move back to my Kali Linux, and what we are going to learn in this particular video is one more way how we can access the Metasploit, that is MsfCLI. That is the command line interface. You can simply get a MsfCLI-H option to get a much more detail or help options that are related to MsfCLI. So you can simply type out that and find a lots of options and commands out there. Like there is the advanced options, execute, help, and there is a O for options, payload, target, and all these options. Okay, so I hope it is bit clear. Now what we are going to do, first of all, let me write out here some commands so that we can understand those commands, how actually we can exploit any machines and all these. So what I have written here is very simple. I have got a MsfCLI and I have told MsfCLI that I want to use an exploit, that is exploit/multi/samba/user/map/script_script. Now this is a particular exploit for the Samba server which is already there in the Metasploit. So no need to worry about the practice environment. Everything will be there with you if you have watched those videos earlier. And after that I have got a rhost. Now make sure that the Metasploit version, that is MsfCLI, is very case sensitive. So make sure the things are caps out there in your machine too, and rest of the same as. So we have got rhost. Rhost simply stands for the remote host. So I have found out the IP. Later on the stage I will tell you how you can scan for the entire network, find out the IPs and all these. Right now I am assuming that I already know the victim IP address. So rhost is 192.168.52.160. After that I have written payload. That is completely here. Payload, and in the payload the equal sign is actually the assignment operator here, and in the equal I have given cmd/unix/reverse. That is actually give me a reverse Unix shell after exploiting the machine, and that the local host address, because it will give me a reverse connection, therefore a remote host IP should be known and a self IP, that is local host IP, should be known. And after that E option is being used to give execute module. So I can simply type enter in this. This is definitely going to take a couple of seconds to actually exploit the machine. First of all, to load up the MsfCLI console, then loading up the exploit module tree, then setting up a connection that will be a reverse connection between the local host and the remote host, and you can say finally we have got entry into the remote victim machine. So let's wait for a moment, and in the meantime I'll tell you that what I have done so far as a homework. Most of the time you might be seeing that students do the homework, but in this case I have done my homework. There was a beautiful suggestion being dropped at my email that Hitesh, you are quite aware about these commands, you type them very fast, and there should be some mechanism by which we can also type the same command, and there should be those commands should be available to us. So what I have done, all those commands that I might be using here, I have already written them here in a text document. This text document will be available to you, and in the video I'll discuss how these commands can be used, and after that you can also type these commands. Okay, so beautifully a command session is being opened up. That's really nice feature. And what we can do so far, this is really a simple scenario. A victim machine is being compromised. You can type various commands like uname -a, and it gives that Linux Metasploitable is the machine. You can do a quick ls here to give all the commands. You can travel into the directories. It's a simple Linux shell, so Linux commands will be available. Do a quick ls and all these options are available. So that's really a cool feature. Now you might be saying, hey Hitesh, how we can get more help of this command line interface? Now for that I have already written, as told you, few commands that will be very helpful. For example, if you'll notice that here I have written another command, that is MsfCLI exploit multiSAM by user, and you don't know what are the options being available in this, so you can append by using a O. That should be in the caps. So just typing after O, it will give you the resultant options that you need to fill out, like remote host and all these options. Now in case you are confused that Hitesh, what can be the different payload that I can use with this particular exploits, or what extreme I can do in this, so you can type simply P option at the end of this script, and that will give you a payload. Let's have a quick demo of that as well. So this is, so what I can do, I can remove this payload, and I can simply just type a caps P so that I can find out what are the different payloads being available to me for this particular exploit. So let's wait for a moment till it loads up the all exploit module tree. Just in a moment it will load up all these things. After that we are going to discuss what are the pros and cons for using this interface of Metasploitable. Everything has got pros and cons, and it depends totally on the priority, which concept or which interface you want to use. All are same, but just it's a matter of priority. So it will load up in a moment. So here are all the options, all the available payloads which you can use. Like you can get a reverse open SSL, you can get a reverse netcat, and you can also get a reverse Python SSL, and you can also get a Ruby SSL. So try out with different payloads. In this entire series we are not going to stuck with 2 or 3 payloads. Every time I will try to use different exploit, different payload, and all these combination, so that at the end of the series you can master at least 50 to 100 payloads and exploits. So this is all about the things. Now finally let's move back to our presentation and find out what are the things that I really want to share you on the MsfCLI. So there are always pros and cons. Pros, first of all, it supports the launching of exploits and auxiliary modules like all other platforms, useful for a specific task. And MsfCLI is very good for the startup learners. And most important, it is the convenient way when you are testing your modules and payloads and exploits. It's a good tool for one-off exploitation. What does that I mean is simply, if you really want to compromise into a single victim machine, that this is really a beautiful and less time consuming. So these are all the pros. But what are the cons? As you have noticed, our interface was got booked up by only single payload and single session. Now suppose I have got 100 machines to be exploited. I cannot do it with the MsfCLI. For that I need a new console environment. That we are going to look up in the next video. But these are the basic pros and cons about the MsfCLI. So make sure that you understand what actually you are going to try, and then only use MsfCLI. So this was all about the pretty straightforward demonstration about the MsfCLI. Try it with yourself, and don't forget to download the PDFs of the slides as well as the commands. Thank you so much for watching, and keep enjoying the stuff.